Well, good evening. Let me first of all welcome all of you for being with us tonight. It's so nice to see such a wonderful crowd. We hope that you find tonight's program enlightening and meaningful. We have worked hard to try to prepare a brief overview of what we're doing with the Public Engagement Committee as it relates to reform, and we certainly want to hear from you. I want to start out with introductions, but before I do that, I must thank my wonderful alma mater, Cleveland State University, for hosting us tonight. They're always there when you need them, and we appreciate having the space, so thank you, Cleveland State University. My name is Randolph McShepard, and I am the President of Public Affairs for RPM International Incorporated. I'm also the chairman and co-founder of an African-American think tank called Policy Bridge here in the Cleveland area. And for the sake of tonight's program, I am serving as the co-chair of the Public Engagement Committee of the Cuyahoga County Reform or Transition process. I'd like my colleagues, there's a couple that aren't here yet, but those that are, I'd like you to introduce yourselves if you would and give your name and your affiliation so that the audience will know who you are.
Mary Denahan, Cuyahoga County Child Support Enforcement Agency.
Thank you.
I'm Robin Minter-Smyers. I'm a partner at Thompson Hine, the law firm Thompson Hine.
I'm Linda Lally, representing the League of Women Voters.
I'm Kelly Farrell, and I own Design Room Creative.
Andres Gonzalez, and I work at Cleveland Clinic as the Director of Diversity and Community Outreach, and I also wear another hat in the Hispanic Latino community. I am the president of the Hispanic Roundtable Community Programs that actually host Convention every 3 years.
Okay, and as I stated, we have a couple of other folks coming. We're expecting Harriet Applegate representing the AFL-CIO. I'd like to send a special thank you to Steve Millard and Claire, both from Cozy, who's been very supportive and helpful in this effort. And we have two other new members that should be joining us, Don Slocum from Neighborhood Leadership Institute and Lorna Wisham from First Energy Corporation. I did want to cover just a few housekeeping items before we officially begin. The first one is, please make sure that you sign in if you haven't already to our immediate left here. There's a couple of tables. I think you can sign up and leave your email information or any other contact information that you prefer us to use. We really want to know who you are and be able to communicate with you and share information back and forth. If you didn't receive an index card yet, please raise your hand and let us know. We'll get someone to pass index cards out. The idea is that not everyone likes to come to a microphone and speak. And those of you that would prefer to write your thoughts down on an index card and hand it in, that's perfectly fine. And we would welcome that. Also, because we have time constraints, those of you that do speak may not be able to speak as long as you would like. So we would ask that you give your brief comments, but then also feel free to add any additional comments on those cards. We also will have someone taking notes of comments as they are shared. That's why you see the flip chart here. Debbie Dowd, if you'd wave to the crowd, Debbie, thank you for your help. And finally, you should know that this entire forum is being videotaped and will be uploaded on the Cuyahoga County website, so that if you want to go back and watch yourself, or if there are family or friends that you would like to hear this information, by all means, we would encourage you to direct them to that website. So with that, we will carry on. What you see here is just a brief agenda, and I did want to mainly say that I'm going to briefly cover a lot of things, but you see that most of my remarks are brief in terms of the categories that you see here, and you see that the bulk of the time is actually for public input. We have an hour and 20 minutes slated for that, whereas just hopefully 10, 15 minutes tops for all the other items that you see here. So wanted to make sure that you saw that. Just to give a little perspective about the whole county reform process, we do like to pause and reflect on the fact that this is very, very large, very grand, something that most of us have never seen, certainly in this county. And I like to describe the process as being large, complicated, never done before, politically charged, and time-sensitive, all rolled up into one. We know as a result of all those things that this process won't necessarily be easy, but we think it's absolutely critical that we get as many county residents not only informed about the process, but actually engaged in the process. And that's why there is a public engagement committee. We would ask that you consider the size of this mammoth task as you look at the screen there as a backdrop to our discussion and the various items that we will cover tonight. So this chart is the organizational chart that really sums up county reform. The goal of everything that you see here reflected in this chart is to outline recommendations that will be handed over to the new county executive as well as the county council, so that when they do, in fact, take office, that there is a game plan, that there is some strategies that have been well vetted by many smart people like those of you in the room, so that they can hit the ground running, and that they already have a template for how they can realize efficiencies and those kinds of things. The charter actually called for a 3-member transition advisory group. That was written in the charter. And you see in the second box there that James McCafferty, Gary Holland, and Joseph Nani were appointed by the county commissioners, as the charter stated, immediately after the election in November. And their role is to ensure that the entire process happens. As you can see, immediately underneath them is an executive committee. And some might ask, well, why do you need an executive committee? There's 3 primary roles that we see the executive committee playing. One is to provide leadership to the various work groups that you see listed underneath in this chart. Second point would be that this group would provide resources, much-needed resources, to the various work groups. And thirdly, once the new executive and the council members are actually on board, we felt that it was going to be important that someone ensures that those new officials actually take seriously all of the work and all of the recommendations and suggestions and so forth that would have been generated over the course of this calendar year. So that's kind of the role that the executive committee plays. If you come down a tier, you see on the left the public engagement committee. That's us. Again, our role is to ensure that the public is, in fact, engaged in as many ways as possible. And then underneath that, you see, well, next to that, along with the other squares, you see various work groups. There's 10 work groups, and we believe that that number will increase as time moves on. But the work groups basically are responsible for working through the myriad of issues that are associated with all the things that you see listed here. We're talking about human resources. We're talking about economic development. We're talking about boards and commissions. We're talking about lots of complicated things. And obviously, the work groups will have their hands full, but we're excited that so many people have stepped up to help with this effort. I wanted to share the next slide because when we all kind of started the process, this was given to us in terms of, well, what do we expect of the committees? And I'm just going to run very briefly through these. We expect that the committees will work in the interest of an effective county government. We expect that the committee members will actively participate in meetings, that they will agree to communicate the work of the transition through established forums like what we're experiencing tonight, or press releases or other outreach methods and tactics. We expect that individuals involved in this effort are not planning to run for any of the elected offices. There's Harriet, welcome. We expect that, finally, as you see there, that any individual involved in any of the committees doesn't use that as a way to endorse anyone that might be running for office. I did want to give a little bit of backdrop information about the Public Engagement Committee. Quite frankly, because we've been in the news of late, and I want to, put the issue right out there. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand that January 28th, less than 3 weeks ago, is the first time the majority of us met. I talked to Harriet Applegate on the phone, but I never met her. I did not know Mary Denahan. I did not know Miss Lally. Several of the folks I did not know, and they certainly didn't know each other. So we met for the first time less than 3 weeks ago. By the way, that equates to 14 business days. But in the course of those 14 business days, we've gotten a lot accomplished, we believe. As we met that very first evening on the 28th, we quickly realized, as all the committees were kind of being mobilized and organized, that everyone was being handed a committee charge. Some great folks put together some objectives that they wanted every committee to begin working on. Well, there was no committee charge for the Public Engagement Committee. And we said, well, wait a minute, you know. So we kind of spent the first meeting, which was very brief, in fact, looking at each other after introducing ourselves and asking questions like, well, what does a Public Engagement Committee do? How do we go about engaging the public? What's involved? Who should be involved or not? What will it cost? I mean, there were so many questions, and we quickly said, well, the first thing we need to do is really take the time to write a committee charge. And what I have in front of you is what we created and discussed at our subsequent meeting. And just to quickly run through these, we felt that we needed to devise strategies for outreach that ensure that every citizen of Cuyahoga County has access to relevant information related to the county reform process and input into its substantive work, that we wanted to identify the necessary communication tools for public education, and to then go out and not only acquire but utilize those tools to the fullest degree. We also felt that it was important that we direct volunteers, media, and other interested parties to each committee as appropriate, and to ensure that the work groups engage volunteers, and that the whole process of referral is organized, and that we're documenting what's happening as we send people around. The next slide continues with just 3 more bullets that we came up with, that we wanted to communicate the desired outcome for county reform, including the details of how the new structure will operate, as well as the anticipated benefit to the citizens of Cuyahoga County. We wanted to provide feedback, input, and evaluation of the public engagement process, and ensure that the process is inclusive, transparent, and comprehensive. And finally, we wanted to evaluate the effectiveness and the impact of a communications consultant, the scope of work for the firm that we will ultimately hire, and I'll talk a bit more about that in just a second. So that was kind of what we came up with as what exactly this committee is charged with accomplishing over the course of this calendar year. So to kind of recap, you know, we've met 3 times in the last 3 weeks. Tomorrow will actually be our 3-week anniversary, ladies and gents. After that initial meeting on the 28th, we spent the meeting February 3rd writing this committee charge that I just shared with you, and talking a lot about an RFQ, a request for qualifications. We're looking for a communications firm because, quite frankly, we said when you talk about reaching out to the entire county, every nook and cranny of the county, you need professional expertise. We're all volunteers. We're not marketing professionals. So we loved the idea when we heard it from the various powers that be, that it was a recommendation already on the table that we go about the process of hiring a communications firm to help us write press releases, to help us reach out to the community, to help us organize forums like this one tonight. And I can go on and on, but we thought that that was a very good idea, and we, of course, as a committee, spent time reading through the RFQ, making sure that it was inclusive, that we made edits and did whatever else we could do to make that process work. We also began sifting through over 1,000 names of volunteers that had signed up, that wanted to be a part of this process. And how is the process going to work of making sure that they're connected to the various committees that they're interested in, and all those kinds of questions we started to talk about. And we then met February 11th to really plan tonight's forum, because we also looked at each other and said, you know, we can come up with lots of ideas that we think are effective in terms of how you reach the public or engage the public, but why not ask the public, you know, what works, what resonates with them, what they would like to see, what vehicles, what tools, what methods, what procedures, practices, what are all the things that you think we need to be thinking about as it relates to reaching out and getting the word out to as many Cuyahoga County residents as possible. That's important to us, and that's why we so quickly, again, just even under 3 weeks, are having our first community forum. And then, of course, That takes me to the actual moment that you've been waiting for, which is shifting from me being a talking head and sitting down and listening to what all you have to share with us. We did want to talk a little bit about ground rules for the comments and the sharing of information and ideas that you may have. And you see them listed here. I'll just go through these. The first thing I'll say is that as you approach the microphone, those of you that choose to do so, please state your name before commenting so that we'll have that on record. We can maybe get back in touch with you to follow up if necessary. We're asking that each person limit their comments to 2 minutes. And I'd like to ask Megan Lally to wave to the crowd. Megan is our timekeeper. And if you're at 1 minute and 30 seconds, she will give you a sign that your time is close to being completed. And we do that because there's a lot of people in the room, and if you think about it, if 40 people speak for 2 minutes, that's 80 minutes, and by that point, most of us will be ready to go home. So we want to be respectful of everyone in the room that wants the opportunity to speak. Again, if you want to elaborate further on any given point, you can document that on the cards and hand those in. We'll also be capturing comments again on a flip chart, and it will be on the camera. So we will get your points and utilize them as best we can. The next item, I used to work for an organization that used the word no stueso. No stueso was an acronym for no one speaks twice until everyone speaks once. We would ask that we practice no stueso tonight, that again, to ensure that we're allowing as many people to speak as possible, that we, after giving our comments, at least wait and see that everyone else in the room that wants to speak has had that opportunity before coming back a second time. We would ask that you focus your comments on the public engagement process. Please understand that I and my colleagues are not trying to put words in your mouth and tell you what to say, but our real charge is public engagement, and we really need you to tell us how we can be smart and thoughtful in that space. And it would be very helpful that you share your ideas with us in that regard. And then finally, we ask that you watch for the timekeeper. And sometimes you start talking and you get kind of worked up and you forget about the time. So please glance at Ms. Lally there when you can. And I'm sure we're in for a wonderful evening. I did want to make mention that all three of the folks that were listed on the flip chart, or the org chart, I should say, are all here. And I'd maybe ask them just to wave. There's Joe, there's Jim McCafferty, and Gary Holland. Did I say Gary? Oh, Gary. And standing next to Gary is Marty Zanotti, co-chair of the reform effort. So with that, I think we are ready to entertain your comments, your thoughts, and we have our first speaker. Please go right ahead.
Hi, thank you for doing this. My name is Toro Dexter. I'm a technology consultant. I work part-time for the County Land Bank, and I'm a student of public administration here at the Levin College. The county is a largely administrative body, and I recognize that you're looking for ways to engage the broader public, but I hope that as part of that, you will make a special effort to reach out to those members in the community who have special training in public administration. That is this college's work, so anything that you can do to reach out to those of us who are immersing ourselves in this stuff as a profession would be very helpful. And of course, CASE and the other public management resources, I hope that you will do everything you can to tap into those in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And your comments remind me, I did forget, you can just look at the screen here. I did want to frame the comments that you all may share with the great work of, this actually came from our committee, as we tried to figure out, what is the work of this committee and how do we go about figuring out how to distill or break down, categorize the various things that need to happen. We came up with these 4 buckets. We're not suggesting that this is an exhaustive list, but we think it's a good framework, maybe even for some of you to use to kind of frame some of your thoughts or suggestions. But we broke it down into volunteer relations, community relations, committee relations, and press and media relations. And I just wanted to give you a little bit about what we're thinking, or to maybe stoke your thoughts here a bit. Under volunteer relations, how do we engage 1,000+ volunteers in the best way possible? That's a lot of people, as you can certainly understand. Secondly, community, how do we connect to the various community networks, not only the networks that Cuyahoga County has, but the networks that all of you are a part of? That's going to be critically important for us to be successful. Under committees, how should, as committees progress and have some success stories to share, how might we communicate that with the general public on an ongoing basis? And through what channels might we do that? And then finally, with press and media, we're very familiar with the traditional media, you know, radio, TV, et cetera. But we're in an age of Facebook, Twitter, and lots of other things, and how do we ensure that we're using every channel possible? So I apologize, sir, for taking a couple of extra minutes to cover that, but I didn't want to forget that. As you all think, and please reflect on what's on the screen. Go right ahead, sir.
Randall, thank you for describing what's on the screen, and appreciate that. My name is David Eden. I'm a resident of Beechwood. Thank you for having this meeting for all of us. I think there's only one job that your committee has, and that's one prime directive. And if you fail to do that, then you will fail the process of helping create a new government for Cuyahoga County. And it's very simple. It's to be open and transparent, and to shine the spotlight on what you're doing so you can rebuild public trust in our community, and to have that carry over to the next county government, so we don't have stories in the paper about secret meetings, that everything is on the web and through communications technologies that will engage the public and not add to the distrust. So that's why I'm here tonight, and that is what I charge you to do. I think that's what the people in this community want you to do and want all the other committees to do. Of course, there's a lot of distrust, and we need to stop that right now. So that's the only thing I wanted to say. I hope that helps you, and if you watch Star Trek, you'll know what the prime directive is, and that's it. And I just have one other disclosure question. I just wonder how many of you on the committee are not Democrats? Any of you?
I'm
Not Democrats?
with the League.
I understand. So you're with the League of Women Voters. So
We do
you're
not
nonpartisan.
disclose our politics.
Okay.
We're nonpartisan.
Okay, so you're the question mark. But so I assume that everyone else is a Democrat. Thank you.
I'm Christine Link. I'm the Executive Director of the ACLU of Ohio. Germaine to the remarks that David just made, we have a couple of suggestions that could be implemented immediately and bring everybody in the county into the process. The first would be full and complete minutes on the website. The minutes as they've been posted currently consist of no more than a couple of lines that state that a committee or subcommittee met, they talked, they adjourned. We know that other things must have happened in those 2 hours, and it really speaks to why minutes are an insufficient view of the operation of any of these bodies. We would also propose that every subcommittee be treated as a public meeting of a governmental organization, because in fact, you are a governmental organization whether or not you are volunteers. And in that vein, we would suggest that every subcommittee meeting needs to be available to the public contemporaneously through public access television and by streaming on the web. That way, all the hundreds of people that couldn't be downtown at 6 o'clock in the evening on a weeknight would be able to see what's going on, as well as the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Annalisa Hanley. I'm a teacher for over 35 years, and I'm also the Executive Director of the Urban Education Strategy Group. And I'm coming to ask that education be placed as a vital part of this commission. I've talked to Mr. McCafferty, and he mentioned that it might be placed under Health and Human Services. So I'm looking to work with this commission to place education at the top of this commission, because education has been devalued in this community and in this county, and we must place education at the top of this commission, and I'm looking to work with you all on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Johnson with Upbeat Cleveland. Questions I have, number one, there's been this invisible hand that seemed to create these committees and these persons on these committees and leadership positions. I want to know who's responsible for that group and how did they come about the way of developing these tasks and goals and operations of how this is going. How much ownership will there be of the process by the community with regards to input? Since they've already set up leadership for committees, since they've already set up goals and agendas for committees, how much actual input will the committee have and what the conversation will be, especially if the community comes up with very different ideas and concepts? And there are numerous processes. We've already been through a town hall process with the conversation about the regionalism with the, I can't remember exactly what the process was, but we've had those general town hall meetings before where we were able to disseminate and distribute the information and opinions of the community with 1,000 people. Are we going to engage in that type of process to make sure that everyone's voice is heard?
Well, I'm taking a lot of those questions as suggestions, Mr. Johnson, that you would suggest that we consider large town hall type meetings, that we figure out or communicate with the public about how the committees were selected. I don't have all those answers personally, but I think it's a good question, you know, who in fact made those decisions. I can tell you that we as a committee have talked about adding to our committee. I would assume that a lot of other committees have had the same discussion, so it's not being done behind, you know, closed doors, so to speak. It's as we grow as a committee and identify the needs that we think we need for our respective work, we're looking to bring in others to help us with that. I would assume that other committees are looking for certain skill sets. If you're talking about economic development or human resources, I know they're trying to find people with those specific skill sets. But I think we should go on record that Mr. Johnson did ask the question, you know, how did we go about selecting individuals for the committees, and we can get that answer to you. And the fact that, you know, large-scale meetings, I think, would be one vehicle that we could and should use. Obviously, tonight's attendance would be evidence of that. So thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Shane Winnick. Thank you for hosting the forum tonight. I think it would be fantastic if there could be a community message board created with each committee or working group having their own board, that all of the participants can have access to all of the different boards. And I think that that would serve a number of purposes. Number one, I think it would enhance participation for county residents without overburdening the public meeting process by making them so large that they become unmanageable. I think it would encourage cross-participation between people in different working groups. So if you're on the Human Resource Committee, you can know what's going on the Economic Development Committee and vice versa. And I think that that would enable people to employ like the best practices of what's going on one committee, or more importantly, find out what's not going well on one so you can kind of perfect that on another. I think that by employing a message board, it kind of would make it more of a two-way street instead of just the executives or the people in charge of moderating rather than just communicating at individuals, be more of a two-way street dialogue. And I think finally, what's already been touched on is I think it would satisfy the public's appetite for openness and transparency, so people would have access to this information at all times, and not just participating in the process, but kind of creating citizen journalists to report back to their fellow citizens who aren't participating yet. And I think that that would create for a more effective and efficient process, which I think would ultimately lead to a better county, which is the whole intent of the program.
Thank you. Very good.
Good evening. My name is Sally Hanley, and as part of this process, I'd like us to look into public campaign finance reform. It's also known as clean money, and I know that the League of Women Voters has been very interested in this issue also. And I can't think of anything more relevant to this process than looking at the option of clean elections. I've been working with a group for a couple of years that's been looking into this, and it's working very well in various locations across the U.S., most notably the states of Arizona and Maine, but also some counties and cities. All the time, we're hearing people talking about all our public officials are bought, and the public officials keep complaining that they don't have time to do anything because all they have time for is to make more campaign money so that they can run again. So this just seems like a great opportunity to look into this, something different. As you said, this is revolutionary. We should look into something really different. I would like to work on this issue. I know some other people would. And I would like to ask you to either form a committee to look at this or make this part of one of the existing committees to look at.
Okay. Can you make sure we get your contact information?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Gillen, and I'd like to suggest that you take a look at the existing structure in the county, particularly Health and Human Services, specifically the MyCom initiative. MyCom already divides Cuyahoga County into 5 regions. My suggestion is that you take those 5 regions, take your show on the road so that folks aren't forced to come downtown to a meeting, but you host the meetings and educate folks right in the regions where we have MyCom. Our youth will have access, our families will have access to the information, and use it as a teaching tool, not so much a informational tool, but be more directly educating folks in those 5 regions.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Reverend Prunty, and although I am the Executive Director of the Citizens of Cuyahoga County Ombudsman's Office, I'm not acting in that vein at this point for many, many reasons. I do have a question, and that is, in fact, I have 2. What are the checks and balances related to decisions made by both the Executive Committee and subcommittees as it relates to public access to meetings? And then secondly, is there an organization providing oversight as it relates to these decisions? Thank you.
Well, Reverend Prunty, I'll just say, this may answer your question, but I think that's partly why my role as co-chair of the Public Engagement Committee isn't limited to that, but it also includes me serving on the Executive Committee. So I'm a member of the Executive Committee as well as the Public Engagement Committee. So in many respects, I will be taking a lot of what is discussed at our meetings to the Executive Committee. And I haven't had any problems yet because we haven't had a meeting since our introductory meeting, but that certainly I think that we're all mindful of, this whole effort is all about public engagement. And I think that when we share information from the public, that it will be highly regarded. And I plan on fighting for that.
Well, Randall, I'm very happy that you're on this committee. We go back some years, and I certainly respect you, and I trust what you're saying at this point.
Thank you very much.
And I'll hold you to it.
You always do. You always do. Yes, please. You want to?
It's also important. It's also important that we reiterate that the county transition process has committed that all meetings will be open. And there is a long-standing commitment to openness and transparency. The purpose of this group is to help to bring that. And really, we were unanimous in in wanting that to be part of all of the practices of all of the work groups. And the Executive Committee and the Public Engagement Committee have all recently reaffirmed that that is absolutely essential to the operations. I think we understand completely that the purpose of our group is to restore the public trust in the process. And we understand that that cannot be accomplished without openness to the public. And our goal is to try to come up with as many ways as practical and accomplish that sense of openness to the public in every way that we can within sort of practical means. And we're playing catch up here because we're starting from scratch, but that is where we intend to be.
Thank you, Robin. Yes.
Hi, Ann Eeland, a retired administrator at the Cleveland Schools and a past elected official. You've answered part of my question. Being not elected, I was curious as to whether Sunshine Law did in fact affect any of your proceedings. So since you're going to be open, it really doesn't matter. Speaking to the 1,000 volunteers, I did sign up to be a volunteer, and quite frankly, I've received a lot of emails. I would like to know your process when you finally weed through this is, will volunteers in fact know if they will be needed or used or not, and when will that happen, because they are in such a shortened timeline. As to getting information out to the public, since the timeline is short, and I was looking at the chart here, monthly won't do it because there aren't that many months left. But I would think that bi-monthly public information releases would be important, and if possibly something was set up with all of the media, radio, TV, print media, whatever, that the public would know that on the second Tuesday of every other week, that will be the time that there will be a release of any information from the previous 2 weeks, then they'll know. Tune into the radio station at 5 o'clock on every second Tuesday or whatever, and it will be a schedule, so people will know to look for that. I think that might be wise. There's still a lot of people that are not on the internet. Also, being a retired educator, I do believe, as the other lady had said, that engaging the entire county can be done very effectively using our high schools. If we take the show on the road and you use the high schools and our public libraries, you'll get the education community involved, you'll have, let's face it, free parking, and you'll have locations all over the county that are comfortable, that people feel safe going into. And the libraries also, and I believe that will get the information out. But if in fact you're going to use lots of volunteers, let us know, or let us know that we won't be needed. But to just continue to receive emails just really doesn't serve a purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to? I'm sorry?
Do you want to give her an update on our process on the consultant, because that will help people understand what we need to do?
Sure. Robin was just suggesting to the last speaker that part of her comments gets back to why we're hiring a communications firm. That's the exact kind of thing that we see them doing, coordinating bi-weekly or bi-monthly, briefings. They could do that in a heartbeat because they have the expertise. They know how to pull it together, and that's the kind of suggestion that we want to take back to them. So stay tuned.
And it won't just be a communications consultant, it will be a public engagement consultant, so that it's not just externally pushing out information, it's really helping to give some professional guidance to volunteers about how to effectively engage 1,000 volunteers. So we're hoping to get that lifted off as quickly as possible, but we haven't yet hired that person, and I think we need some help and guidance from the public and from professionals in the area to help us figure out how to effectively deploy all of the people who want to participate. And that's definitely the goal. And so, hang in there for just a few more weeks, and then we'll try to make sure that everybody is engaged in the way that they want to be engaged and engaged in ways that are effective, so that you're not just getting information being pushed out, but opportunities to participate.
Okay. I'm Linda Barley, and I am one of those pioneering people who moved to the Flats to help revitalize the center of the city. I'm also a block club captain, and I want to emphasize how important it is that you reach to that bottom rung of social organization in the community. And I'm glad that you addressed the issue of hiring someone who is an expert in evoking social participation rather than merely a public relations firm. That's one issue that I was going to bring up also. The people at the block club level care about their neighborhoods and they care about their communities, but for a large part they have been disaffected from organized government. And I think that it would go a long way to restoring trust and credibility in government if they saw activity reaching to them instead of just saying it's coming down from the top. You need to start at the bottom up. Also, I noticed that there's a meeting tomorrow morning at 7:30 of your committee, and I would dearly love to be a part of your committee. I have time available, and I have a lot of background skills and expertise, and I will be there. And if you would take me, I would be glad to be part of your committee.
We'll see you at 7:30.
My name's Ahmed Abunama of Cleveland, and I would just like to reiterate the traveling show of meetings that's been said thus far. But I would also like to bring to the committee's attention that we should, when we take these meetings on the road, to be sure not to overlook the folks that are easy to overlook. So take meetings to Huff, take meetings to Clark Fulton, Mount Pleasant, these neighborhoods that frankly sometimes get overlooked, because these people are also important to the new county government that will be taking office next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Richard Randolph, and I'm a resident of Westlake. I'm also a retiree, and I would like to reemphasize the need for communication. In these economic times, being a retiree, I also have to do part-time work. And for me, that means I have to travel usually out of state and sometimes out of country to supplement my income. I'm looking forward to getting into this arena. It's the first time I've ever ventured into the political arena. I'm retired from 34 years of corporate business in the steel industry. So I've been anxiously awaiting an email to say, what committee am I going to be on and when are they going to start? And here I sit. And unfortunately, I'm leaving the first 2 weeks of March, and I will have availability to email, but I'm also recognizing that's probably going to be one of the weeks that whatever committee I'm going to be assigned to is probably going to convene. So the quicker the better. Please get the information out, and let's get on the communication drip and make it happen. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rachel Manius. I'm a stay-at-home mom from Broadview Heights. Thanks for having this tonight. I think a lot of us are concerned with governmental waste, and as regards to your RFQ, I'd make sure that you seek out people who would be willing to do this pro bono, because it certainly would be excellent publicity for them. And I would think there would be a lot of firms that would jump at that chance to help out the county, and they're going to be in the Plain Dealer every day. They're going to be on all the news channels. So I think that we could save our county a lot of money by seeking out pro bono work for that. And I would also like to say that I would encourage you to schedule meetings like this at a little bit, be sensitive to the times. This is Ash Wednesday. Many of us are Catholics. This is a very Catholic area. This is dinner time. I'm starving. Very poor choice of timing. Certainly don't do this again on Good Friday, where I'm probably going to collapse on the floor.
What would be good times from your perspective?
This would be a fine time, just not on Ash Wednesday when I'm fast. When many of us are fasting all day. This is the first time in my life I'm agreeing with the ACLU, but I completely like the idea of streaming these meetings online. I would love to go to the Human Resources meeting, but it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I have to go to get my kids off to school. So I think that's fabulous, and Shane's idea about the boards, that would be a great way to engage the public so that at any time of the day I can go online and type in my ideas or see what was discussed. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for posting this. My name's Dave Danis. I'm a resident of Ohio City. I'm also an employee of the City of Cleveland, and over the years I've worked very closely with many people in county government. Recently, the past year and a half, there's been a lot of publicity about corruption by some high-placed county employees, and unfortunately, many honest, hardworking county employees have been painted with that same brush. And my question about this is, will county staff be engaged in this process, staff at all levels? Because the county staff are going to be the ones that are going to be implementing, making this work, putting the rubber to the road. If you're not involving the county staff at all levels, upper, middle, lower management, the worker on the street, it ain't going to work. Speaking as a city employee, I know how this works, and you can't have change unless the staff are involved.
Very good, thank you.
Randy?
Yes.
Yes, the plan is to engage the county staff, and as a matter of fact, we're also specifically doing communications, internal communications to all county staff as well. They've been encouraged to participate in this process. I see a lot of county folks here at all different levels, and some of them have come up with some darn good ideas tonight, so really proud of the folks who have spoken up tonight.
Yes, sir.
My name is Al Boda. I'm from Brecksville, and I'm piggyback on the other gentleman's comment about balance on the boards, or how the boards or the committees were put together. Because, for example, I believe you were on the Real Reform Done Right slate until you withdrew. Harriet Appleby was on that same slate, yet I see nobody from the Citizens Reform slate, and that was a slate that received the most votes when Issue 5 was being debated and when the people spoke. So I'd like to find out how come they're not representative on some of these committees. If they weren't asked, they should be asked.
Okay, good point, thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Troche. I'm from Broadview Heights, and I guess a little bit along the same lines. I guess I'm a little bit disappointed that this particular group here appears to be partisan. Issue 6 was passed in a bipartisan fashion, and yet there's no representation, at least we don't know about one person, of Republicans on this particular group. And I guess I would wonder how many of the other groups or committees, where there's no Republican representation. I know that I'm sure of the 1,000 volunteers, including myself, you have, Republicans involved. But I think, from a committee aspect, if we can get some Republicans on your committees, that would be terrific. Thank you.
That's a fair point, and our committee actually discussed that at a recent meeting, that as we're trying to look at a lot of categories, groups, demographics that are missing, we did talk about the fact that we should consider, I do know other committees do have Republican representation, but point well taken.
Hi, my name's James Renner. I'm the editor of The Independent. We're a new paper trying to compete with Scene. I got two real quick questions.
Sure.
One, just out of curiosity, how many people here tonight are precinct committee members or ward leaders? Anybody? Okay, just curious.
Of our group?
Yeah, of your group.
Okay. Right.
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I am.
Are there any others?
I'm running.
You're running? Okay. Well, good luck. Okay. The other question I had, I see we've got Marty Zanotti over here kind of hanging out, being cool. I wondered, Mr. Zanotti, if you could go on record and tell us once and for all how many gambling junkets you went on with J. Kevin Kelly.
Well, this isn't Mr. Zanotti's forum. This is, yeah, you can talk to him. The two of you can go and talk.
Well, he's kind of in charge of this whole operation, right? I mean, him and Bill
I'm the chair of
Mason.
the Public Engagement Committee. It's our committee tonight.
Okay.
So if you want to talk to him, you're welcome to do that, sir, but
sure,
we have to continue the public discourse.
Okay, I guess you can read the answer in the next Independent, so.
Thank you. Oh, go right ahead, sir.
My name is Ken Preston. I am a long time, indeed, a very long time, taxpayer of Cuyahoga County. I'm very taken by your remarks. They're very honest, very straightforward, very thoughtful. All of your printed material, things on the screen, the things that have been handed out to us, your programs, your principles, your goals, all very worthwhile. I, however, have to caution you that we are talking about democracy. Democracy is perhaps the worst possible form of governance that we have ever encountered. It is an awful challenge to us. It is, however, the only one that we have, and the only one under which we operate our system of governance. And I caution you again that we are all, you and me, all of us in the room, kindergartners. When we talk about the 554 folks in Washington, D.C., who are extremely professional governors who can get absolutely nothing done. So we are given an extremely difficult challenge. I would caution everyone here in the room to look about and know and do not know the person who is near you. You should not know anybody in this room, because if indeed you know someone, then you are beginning to form a clique, and they will be the financial clique, the labor clique, the religious clique, the political clique, and the worst clique of all, and that is the friendship clique. If you have friends here, and you will all become friends, you will be governed by what your friend wants, and you will not exhibit your own thoughtful ideas. I'm told that I must stop, and that is a great sadness to me.
That means your 2 minutes are up,
But
sir.
I shall.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Petrick. First of all, I know no one here. However, I support what that gentleman just said. You know, you said earlier when you started politically charged. I think that's a pretty good statement. Advocacy. I've already heard a lot of it tonight. Jockeying for position. I think the horses are already out of the stable when it comes to this. I'm just a voter, okay? I live in Westlake. I'm a small business owner in Parma. What I'm looking for and what I would like communicated on a periodic basis as frequently as possible is what are the economic viable solutions that this group is bringing to the problems this county has. It is not about how much money goes here and how much money goes there and stop the crooks and everything else. It's about how do we end up with a sound county government. Because at the end of the day, I'm from Westlake. Dennis Clough isn't going to like a lot of the things that you want to do because he's the mayor of Westlake. He wants to keep it there. But I think we all know where this is all heading eventually, to a county-wide government. So let's do it smartly. You're starting in a hole to begin with from a credibility point of view from the comments that a number of people have made. I would suggest when you meet with whatever you're calling this group, the communication person or whatever it is, that you think about a non-political, trusted person who can represent what you're trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Really means. What is it to accomplish? 10 months, one monthly meeting is 10 meetings. We are going from a service-oriented county government to that of leadership of 5 counties. We're looking at jobs and development. That was one of the big things in the election. What are we to do in these individual groups? What is the thrust? What is the focus? What do you want the groups to attain? You've only got a short time. We will not do everything down to the minute. The new person who becomes the county executive will be the person in charge of making the appointments. Whom he or she puts around them will be the key to our success or our failure. Our success brings that we will lead Northeast Ohio. This is our chance. So what we do in these committees should be geared not towards what happened in the past, but what will happen in the future. How will we lead? What will Northeast Ohio become? This county is the lead, believe it or not. Akron's somewhat of ahead of us. They call it the Polymer Corridor. What do we call Cleveland, Northeast Ohio? I suggest the signs that are right on John Hay. Innovation, invention, creation, export and education. This should be the home of innovation and invention. We were that. Think about the past, from Garrett Morgan to Neela Park. Our thrust is going to be very short. We're not going to come up with a lot of big, fancy ideas. You got 10 months. That's it.
Thank you. There's a card.
Hi, I'm Joel Liske. I'm a resident of Bay Village, and I'm a professor of political science here at the university. I have to make a confession. I don't belong to any organized political party. I'm a progressive. I believe in popular sovereignty. I believe in good government. I believe in direct democracy. I also believe that public policies should serve the public interest. I'm attracted to county executive reform government because I think it's going to give us three things we haven't had in the past. It's going to give us executive leadership. It's going to give us neutral competence if we can move to a civil service system. It's going to give us representation and accountability. I think we'll have inclusiveness and diversity. I think we'll have at least 2 or more black council members, hopefully a Latino, and a couple of Republicans to look over the shoulders of the Democrats. Right? My concern, though, here, twofold. One is I would like to see more talented people stepping forward for the county executive position. In particular, I'd like to see some of the leaders of county reform tossing their hat in the ring. If you want to do something right, you frequently have to do it yourself. My other concern is how are we going to move toward a strong civil service system? I have a former student, Mark Puente, who last year noted that about half of the deputies in the county were hired on a provisional basis, not by civil service. So I think this is a real challenge that has to be faced if we're going to move forward. Because in the past we've had patronage fiefdoms, and people have been hired not on the basis of what they know, but who they know. And we have to move away from that. If we're going to develop confidence in county reform, we have to move to a strong civil service system. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Bundgaard. I'm an attorney with the City of Cleveland, and I actually live in the City of Cleveland. And my question is very simple. As I think someone stated earlier, we just keep getting these emails. What is the process of how the committees are going to be chosen? And will there be people who will be completely excluded and not be placed on committees? Do we know that, or do we have any idea what the process is?
Well,
at this point in time?
the intent clearly is to engage everyone that has signed up, and that's partly what we're working on, but there's other committees and other members of the effort that are, the gentleman sitting right in front of you there, Joe Nani, I know is working very hard on that. As Robin stated earlier, we probably need a couple more weeks because, you know, you have some committees where 400 people signed up for one committee. So what do you do with all those people? Can't sit in a room together and be a committee. So you have to figure out how you do subcommittees and who's leading that. And so a lot of that calls for coordination that we haven't quite gotten figured out just yet, but we are very sensitive. It's very concerning to me that there are eager people like you and a couple of others that have spoken that have taken the time to sign up, and you're sitting and you feel like you're only getting emails. That's not the process that we hoped for, and we want to fix that. And I think you're saying it and others saying it is a reminder to all the, decision makers that are in the room that we really have to get that figured out as soon as
And
possible.
did I hear earlier that there's supposed to be a Human Resources Committee meeting
There,
tomorrow?
a meeting, I didn't know about a meeting.
Yeah,
Did someone say
somebody
meeting?
Oh, they're posted already?
All of the meetings for all of the work groups are now posted on the county website. There have not been any secret meetings, but we have finally gotten the mechanism in place to communicate to the public about where all the meetings, and you can find that on the Cuyahoga County website.
Okay, thank
And
you.
all future meetings will be posted there.
Okay, thank you.
What?
It's the,
You can go.
there's
you
a,
can
there's
go.
a link from the homepage on Cuyahoga County to the County Reform Transition page. And one other
Right.
thing I wanted to share about our efforts is that the county has been working hard to identify locations that will be in all areas of the county, looking at public libraries, looking at city council chambers, looking at nonprofit organization venues where there will be convenient parking and enough space to accommodate as much of the public that wants to attend as possible. And so we're also working on that as we have to really build the infrastructure to accommodate what will be hundreds, if not thousands, eventually, of meetings over, a relatively compressed period of time.
Will we have?
Let's let the gentleman speak and then.
Hi, Mark Novak from Cleveland.
Thank you.
I think everybody's probably aware as we speak, the 2010 federal census is taking place. And obviously take a number of months for everybody to be counted across the country. But I think it would be a reasonable prediction, and I would bet some decent money on it, that when this comes out, or when this list comes out, we'll probably see headlines that for every county in the country, Cuyahoga County will probably be in the top 10 of all counties for losing people. And we can't do anything about that now because we're counting that reflects past decisions. I just hope that come 2020, we'll be off that list and we'll be on our way up, especially when it comes to people in their 20s and 30s.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to just add something about how we anticipate we will be able to engage the 1,000 volunteers. I mean, I think we will be working on it as a committee and working with it with professional guidance from the public engagement consultant that will be engaged. But some of the ideas that have been brought to us and people have been talking about so far, in addition to there being committees and subcommittees, that there would be forum groups in which on a regular basis there would be opportunities for the smaller working groups to come and share the work that had been done to date, get feedback on it, get public engagement through that process. We've talked about the value of doing regular surveys to the group of people who have the expertise and skill sets for the committees that they're most interested in. So we're looking also for all of the other good ideas that you have on how to engage a very large number of volunteers in a very compressed period of time, but give everybody an opportunity to engage in a substantive way. But there are some ideas that we have heard from other working groups that they're already working on, trying to map out, how to take advantage of that. Also, this is just a very preliminary group of people that are on this committee, and all of the other committees are also building out their own committee and subcommittee infrastructure with looking first to the list of people who have volunteered as ways to help build that out.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is John. I'm from Lakewood. Voter, citizen, longtime county resident. First of all, the civility of the meeting is very refreshing. This helps a great deal in building trust again in government. So thank you for the time, thank you for being open, and thank you for not being defensive. Again, I would be concerned about any communications group you hired to try and get the word out, that they don't try to become salespeople for a view, that they just share the information, that it be presented openly, and that it not be a sales pitch, because everyone's pretty tired of sales pitches. On one of the Sunday morning talk shows, and I seem to listen to a lot of those, actually DVR them and watch all of them, someone was pointing out that In the late 90s, the dot-com bubble burst, and then in 2007, the housing bubble burst. In 2008, the banking bubble, and in 2009 and 10, the government bubble is bursting. There isn't much money left to go into government. And in our county here, we have 31 school districts, plus a handful of JVHS districts. We have library districts. We have 61 different municipalities. There's no shortage of government. We're all being bombarded by the national news media to think that things aren't working, but I know darn well deep inside of a lot of different departments there's some extremely dedicated people who really do the work for all of us. So I appreciate your efforts, and please take the suggestions, and please hold more meetings like this.
Thank you. Mr. Eden, I think your time has come. Please join us.
First, I'd like to thank Mr. McCafferty and Mr. Zanotti for those wonderful speeches. They're appreciated. I think we all want the same thing, which is having a county that we're proud of, that will be attractive to our children, so we have another generation that can prosper here. I think there's one point of information that I've been waiting to hear all night, and it is this, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is that all of these committees, all of these working groups, you are advisory committees. What you come up with is not legally binding on the new county council or the new county executive. So therefore, if this process is not conducted in the best interests of the powers that be, and it's not the executive committee of Frank Jackson and the others you put up there, but the powers that be of these people and the people at the county council and the county executive should throw it all in the trash can. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think we all agree with that, and that's why.
Thanks. I just had one more suggestion. I was researching Allegheny County, who's actually been through the process already. Yes, and I had noticed that there's not a whole lot of information that's publicly available about when they went through the transition process, and I think for your committee specifically to reach out to them, people that have kind of been there, done that, got the T-shirt, I think that that would be important for us too.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson, you...
Actually, can I see a show of hands? Would there be interest in us having public forums where other counties, experts from other counties that have gone through this process come and speak and share their experience, and you bring in some of our wonderful professionals at Cleveland State and Case who are knowledgeable about government reform to share some of sort of best practices and ideas? Is that the kind of thing that people would be interested in hearing?
Wait a minute. I'm going to respond to that. My name is Eric Johnson of B. Cleveland. I've researched county government ever since this conversation was started with the governor's process. There is no county government structure like this. Okay? We don't need to go to Allegheny. We don't need to ask those people because what they have in place is in coordination with what their state government is, and you've heard it referred to numerous times since I walked back in the door. One of the problems we're going to have is coordinating this process with the existing state government. The most important thing we need to do is to make sure that the input of the community is the priority. Let's not get caught up in somebody else's dream or process, because everything isn't rosy in Allegheny County either. We need to make sure that we are focused on the people we're serving here in Cuyahoga County. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones that have to live here. We are the ones that are going to have to live and die under what we now have as county reform. And it's just so important that we not go out here and look and think that all these other people have the answers, because they don't. I can show you the numbers. I have the data. Okay? We have to work a plan that works specifically for Cuyahoga County and make sure that it works for the residents. If it doesn't work for me, if it doesn't work for the people in this room, if it doesn't work for the people that aren't in this room, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it works for Allegheny. I don't care if it works for Maricopa. I don't care if it works for Charlotte, Mecklenburg. We're talking about Cuyahoga County as it is right now. So let's keep that in mind.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ed George. I'm a resident of
Cam's Corners in Cleveland. To piggyback on what the gentleman said, I guess I'll use a cliche, and that is the medium and the method is the message here. With all due respect to Mr. McCafferty, taking the first year on the road would be a phenomenal idea. To have a meeting, you need a table, places to sit, a stenographer to take notes so it's on the record, microphones. You put it together here in a lovely atrium that Cleveland State provided. I think that would send a wonderful message to the people of this county. I work as a member of the Part 150 group. For those of you that don't know what that is, that we're working with Cleveland Hopkins on the noise issue at the airport. The reason I bring that up is the point you made about consultants. Somebody made a great point earlier about consultants kind of bring their own method and to the message. I'd be very concerned about having a group or having a consultant group that isn't pro bono. I think the person brought up the point earlier of getting somebody to donate their services is an outstanding point. The consultant group that we're working with currently on the Part 150 group has, I think you used the term, or somebody earlier used it, sculpted the message that we've been trying to get across to the people in the local community affected by the noise from Cleveland Hopkins. My last point, since I'm getting the flag, is just to say that in terms of what I said earlier, the type of the meeting that you have, a lot of times I've been to meetings with the Port Authority, I've been to meetings with Lakewood Alive. A lot of times there's consultants like to try these new meeting formats where let's do little work groups, or let's do little workshops with people, and let's put 25 or 30 flip charts around. And people are used to the town hall, as ugly as it is, as I said earlier, democratic style of government where people get up and talk. I think that's the way to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments? Gentleman's coming up, okay.
Good evening. My name is Brian O'Malley. I'm from the city of North Olmsted. I want to thank you for putting this on and thank the members that have volunteered and all the speakers. I want to say that working in government, I work for the city of North Olmsted, and you have a lot of these public forums and public meetings. A lot of times it's sarcastic and cynical comments are made, and very rarely are the volunteers complimented for the ideas that they have and the work that they're doing. No offense to the members of the public gathered here, but sometimes the public input component is highly overrated. The heavy lifting and the outlining, the organizing, the drafting is done by the volunteers. And you can do it with public input. You can do it with the assistance of consultants. But at the end of the day, you're going to be drafting all of those documents, and we'd like to see some PowerPoint presentations, lots of graphics. You're going to be putting together the outlines, the study. You're going to be putting together the written materials that you're going to present to the public, and then they're going to scrutinize them. They're going to be sarcastic about what you've done, et cetera, et cetera. That's just the way that it goes. I want to suggest that you all get together with these other subcommittees that you have to make sure that each group has its arms around their assignment, because it looks like you're going to be taking the heat for what other groups are or not doing. I think that the basic framework is excellent. I don't agree with some of the suggestions made earlier that it's strictly the public democratic process. You absolutely should reach out to the accountants and the business people, other stakeholders, Democrats, issue 5, issue 6, union leaders. These stakeholders ought to be consulted routinely before, during, and after the work that you do. And lastly, what you were suggesting, I think, Robin, is a convention-style format with a continuing education type of format or style. You could probably get CSU to lend you their facilities and have your various subgroups all gathered together, and all of the people gathered together in one time in one place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, panel and citizens of Cuyahoga County. My name is Laverne Jones-Gore. I just wanted to come up and tell you that I have seen the RFQ. And let me tell you, and I want to speak to you, it is probably one of the most well-written, well-put-together pieces that I've seen. And I can assure you that anyone that is not paying attention to what you're saying, I believe that there should be a public piece. And I believe that as residents of Cuyahoga County, I'm a taxpayer too and a voter. I think that what Issue 6 started out to do is what they're attempting to complete. And I can assure you, having seen it, because I don't know if many of you have, it does address transparency, and it gives a lot of room for us and voters to say and suggest what will be happening in the next county seat. I assure you that if, in fact, someone's not paying attention to what's going on, I think they're going to listen to you after tonight, but possibly not having all of the meetings go around, but at least having your input when they're seeking advice on how to put this together. And I think that's one of the missions of the communications piece that they're after. I'm excited about it. I think that if it turns out to be what we all expect, we all should be excited about it. And I wanted to thank you all for coming, because I can tell you this room should have been packed, but maybe it wasn't, because we got a lot of citizens that are working tonight, and hopefully we're going to see a lot of these meetings all over the county, and I think they should be. Thank you, panel.
Thank you.
Linda Troche, Broadview Heights. Two real quick things. The meetings that are on the website now, even though we don't know what committee, work group we might be assigned to, should we just go if there's a meeting? And secondly, you're looking for suggestions on harnessing sort of or organizing 1,000 volunteers. Have you reached out to an organization like a Red Cross or something like that who are, you know, do that kind of large-scale organization all the time? Thank you.
The answer to your second question, I'm not sure if we've talked to Red Cross specifically, but that's the exact line of thinking that, you know, we're trying to bring to the table. You know, who's done it before, who knows how to mobilize large groups, who knows how to mobilize grassroots level, and everything in between. The meetings are open to the public, so you can attend. And I should mention that one of the things that Joe and other staff have been working on is, and some of you have already mentioned this, identifying venues that we can share with all of the committees to say, there's a library network, there's, you know, here's 15 nonprofits that have pretty decent space. Tomorrow we're meeting at a county office. Alcohol, what is it?
Adams Board.
Adams Board is the easy way to say it.
Services.
Yes. But they have a pretty spacious meeting room.
Right.
So
The meeting room is the Ohio room on the 6th floor. It's on the southwest corner of Lorraine and West 120, no, and West 25th. And catty corner from the West Side Market.
Right.
And when you go to park, it's free parking, and tell them that you're at the meeting for the Adams Board, and committee members, we need to say that too. So we could get, that we're
Right.
there for the Adams Board. Just go up to the
but the-
6th floor, it'll hold 200 people.
But the main point being, those are the ideal venues so that people don't have to pay to park and, you know, enough space and that kind of a thing. So we're working on a master list that we will distribute to all of our committees and encourage them to use those venues to be more user-friendly for the public. We probably have about 3 more minutes. Yes, sir. Want to take the microphone? You mind taking the microphone so everyone can hear you?
Gentleman's name from Upbeat, but you know I don't really care much about Allegheny County either. But in Ohio, Summit County has gone through this, and I believe they have a similar executive county council thing. And since they are under the umbrella of the state laws of Ohio, which we're under, has there been outreach to that county into how their transition went through?
That's a good point. We have time for one more comment, one last person, and then I have a couple of closing comments. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Kenneth Adams is my name.
I wanted a point of clarity, because we're talking about open meetings.
Right.
These won't be public engagement meetings. They'll be open meetings where you're conducting business and people could just attend and watch. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yes.
that people understand that they won't be. But I do recommend that you have a public portion where the public can
Yes.
make comment.
Yes.
The second thing is that as we talk about emails and Twitter and things like that, understand that there's a section out there that don't participate, that doesn't engage themselves in that have to be informed of what's going on, especially seniors.
Yes.
And so you need to make sure that you identify ways to get them the information.
Absolutely. Both good points. Well, thank you all for giving up so much time. Thank you for coming out on an Ash Wednesday. That certainly is a commitment in and of itself. As you see on the slide here, we do plan to take all of this information back and distill it, not only talk about it amongst ourselves, but to also push it back out to all the committees so that they hear your concerns and your recommendations. We will continue to post all of our meetings and forums so that you all can have access to that. You can actually offer feedback, what you see here, charter@cuyahogacounty.us. Your engagement clearly is going to make this process successful. And I just wanted to say, I know it's difficult to hear, words like be patient, but we have really done a whole lot of work in less than, we're all professionals, we all have other jobs, and for us to make weekly meetings and to now do a forum and have another meeting tomorrow morning, it's a lot of work, and we're not doing it because we're looking for anything special. We do it because, like you, we care about the county, and we want to see this process remain open and transparent and ultimately successful. So we've already said this, but if you do have the time and interest, feel free to join us tomorrow at this location. Also, visit this website for any future meeting minutes of not just this committee, but any other committee. And I would just close with the statement that the secret to success is going to be that we gang up on the challenge of government reform rather than each other. Have a good night.